The Islamabad Accord highlights Pakistan's growing role as a diplomatic bridge, successfully facilitating dialogue between the United States and Iran. On the same day, India's national investigation agency's push for the death penalty for Yasin Malik in a high-profile hearing brings renewed attention to the long-standing Kashmir dispute, placing the Marga-e-Haq at a critical juncture. While global attention focuses on stability in West Asia, the Kashmir issue remains a persistent flashpoint where concerns over political rights and due process are frequently raised. In this interview, Mushaal Hussein Mullick describes the Islamabad process as a key test of global diplomacy and questions the consistency of international engagement. She argues that if diplomatic efforts can bridge divides between major powers, similarly urgency should be applied to resolving the Kashmir conflict. With Yasin Malik's case ongoing, she warns that sustainable global peace cannot be achieved while long-standing dispute like Kashmir remains unresolved.
I see this Islamabad process as more than just a ceasefire mechanism. I see it as a proof of Pakistan's diplomatic centrality, and especially at this moment when the world urgently, wants some credible mechanism through which there can be mediators that can not just merely do cosmetic measures of a ceasefire, but for a long-term substantial solution. So Pakistan, alhamdulillah, has publicly proven also that it is pushing both the United States and Iran towards a channel to leaven the relationship between them. And I think our officials have been working tirelessly. They need to be applauded, they need to be appreciated, especially our Field Marshal and his team and the Foreign Office as well, for engaging both Tehran and Washington, and after many decades, bringing them together. And I think their participation remains very imperative for any kind of solution. And then, yes, one more thing is that this converting our diplomatic, relevance right now globally, which is at the topmost right now, into a structured political, leverage, especially when it comes to the core issue of Kashmir for us, because that is our core issue. So for institutionalizing a forum through which we could use this relevance that we have right now to create a Kashmir international diplomatic track, and also to internationalize it with the wider peace architecture, not just the typical that, the UN resolutions, and we don't know how and when those UN resolutions will be implemented, because we waited over 7 decades and people are dying. There's an entire nation. So I think this canvas can be expanded with high-level engagements with Washington, with the European capitals, with the OIC and the UN as well. And I think including it as Kashmir, the way Iran has included Palestine, I think it's very important. And there was work being done to create some kind of mechanism through which Board of Peace for Gaza. So at that time also I demanded that we should have one for Kashmir, where we have the international establishment on board. So I think this is instead of ceremonial talking points, we now have a greater, a coordinated, more efforts which are being recognized. And I think we can focus even on, cornering India globally through these, this contribution, you could say, and for more coordinated legal and humanitarian dossier on Kashmir. And we could even demand right now, because we're seeing ripple effect of this peace talks that are taking place, especially in Palestine. We're seeing a lot of, Palestinian hostages being released after this first phase of peace talks between Iran and America. So in the same manner, I think it's very important that we could place Kashmir also on the table somewhere. I think it's so vital, the release of Yasin Malik and all the Kashmiri top leadership, and also, of course, the Kashmiri political prisoners, because that is central to any kind of, meaningful movement towards justice and long-term peace in this region. And publicly, we all know that he is serving a life sentence, two life sentences in fabricated cases where he was not given any due legal rights. He could not present himself. He could not, be there physically in the courts, nor a lawyer, and unilaterally decisions are being made. And after 2 life imprisonments, the NIA, the government's office, has demanded a death penalty, and the next hearing is on 22nd of April. So I think it's very important that if the leadership of Kashmir is on board, only then can we expect this nuclear flashpoint where we saw after Markai-Haq the victory that Pakistan received. But if we want a final settlement of Kashmir, only then we can, bear the fruits of stability in the region. And the key to that lies with the real core principal stakeholders, which are the Kashmiri leadership. So I think through your forum and Pakistan being a global voice right now for peace building, and it has proven, especially after Markai-Haq, that it is very responsible and it knows how to tackle and handle the nefarious designs of the Indian state, their proxies, and even right now target killings are taking place within Pakistan, Balochistan and other places, and on their hit list are all those Kashmiri voices that are living also within Pakistan and Azad Kashmir. So I think creating an atmosphere for Kashmir right now, I think this can in a way guarantee the smoothness in the public domain, and also the leadership. If it is out, only then we can know that, if we want peace on Kashmir, we'll have to, which Pakistan has always demanded, that the leadership should be alive. But if the leadership is eliminated, then obviously there will be no political voices representing the sentiment. So people will be moving towards militancy. And as I warned earlier as well, that if the peaceful voices are pushed against the wall and they're hanged, if they're poisoned in jail, tortured, then it's impossible. Winning wars, Markai-Haq was a great exemplary, I think, success that we received. But at the same time, the political will, the political voices of the Hurriyat leadership. So that is the lifeline of this entire region's peace, and to save it from, God forbid, a nuclear, a micro-nuclear exchange or any kind of thing happening. Because we witnessed after Pahalgam, it's been almost a year that, at the drop of a hat, if any small terrorist activity happens on that soil, that can lead towards full-fledged war between India and Pakistan. Same thing happened on 27th of February, 2019. When Pulwama happened, nuclear codes were exchanged. And even right now, when America and China intervened for this ceasefire between India and Pakistan, because Pakistan had won the war against India. But since it's Kashmir, it's disputed and it is the nuclear flashpoint, it could have exploded. So the world bodies came forward. Even right now, this artificial silence that we are witnessing, I think this is going to be criminal. If the world doesn't realize that, this needs a solution, it can affect not just the region, but the globe at large, the world at large. I think I would argue the opposite, because effective mediation, it strengthens a nation's standing as its core issue and its core interest when it comes to, backing it with credibility, with resilience, and strategic clarity. That is must. And Pakistan's current role right now shows that it is not just merely, a stunt or reacting to crisis. It is literally shaping outcomes. And the world, I think, has seen how Pakistan has calculated it, and it should also change how the world should calculate Kashmir. And that's where I think Pakistan's mediation efforts have been publicly, because of these peace efforts between Iran and US, have been publicly acknowledged, and in their reporting around, and the articles, the editorials around the world, the praise that's coming. So I think in these second round of talks, inshallah, that are going to take place, though the process remains fragile and uncertain, still I think Pakistan's role of strengthening it and giving it a backing, because this backing is very, very important, and where both the parties feel confident. So I think we should go with not too high expectations, but the will. but the will to continue this process, because this is not just a full stop, okay, ceasefire on off button. It's a process that has to continue. I think my message to the State Department and to America and to the world bodies, especially to Washington, will be very simple, that if Pakistan is expected to, help stabilize the fragile world order right now and the world's most dangerous crisis, I think it is equally the responsibility of the world bodies, especially of the United Nations, to play a role responsibly to meet the demands of this region's peace. And I think selective silence or selective justice when it comes to or conveniently turning a blind eye towards the plight of Kashmiris, I think this will be the biggest hypocrisy we can do, not just to the current times, but to the future as well. And I think this is an opportunity. This is not a distraction. It is a long-term mediation. And if it is used wisely, I think we have very high leverage. And I think it gives us the ability to not only just to talk about, peace in West Asia and peace in South Asia, but it can also be, compartmentalized into Kashmir, into Palestine, into various other conflicts, and then it widens the margins also for diplomatic, engagement. And I think for that, it's very important that Kashmir should be discussed on the sidelines, and Kashmir, some delegations should also be meeting. The people coming here, I know it's a difficult situation right now because the focus, but yes, delegations should be sent abroad also, timely delegation during this time, and to bring Kashmir back on the global map that it is burning. And this is where I think we should be selling the right points, that it is the most nuclearized zone in the world, and a fragile ceasefire which has taken place between India and Pakistan. That is just not, the way it is. It's not a full stop. It's going to explode any times if another false flag operation explodes. And this repeated crisis, this repetition, and this persistence of it remaining as an unresolved conflict, I think this can really make it more dangerous. And if political voices are silenced, like tomorrow is my husband's hanging case hearing, so I think if they're silenced, then obviously people will give up on political voices. They'll pick up the gun, they'll pick up the armed resistance, and that too on a nuclear hotbed. What do you expect? And that's going to be like the biggest explosion ever. We would forget the Iran-US conflict if we move towards this fragile. So I think that's where we need to connect both the ceasefires towards a long-term process and a strategy, so that we move towards final settlements. That should be the hallmark, long-term hallmark. Yes.